If I had my first guess at who is it, I think he's probably leaning towards Ollie Robinson.
The one thing I'd quickly say about Sam Cook, from what I've seen of him, is when he's into his stride, you know, batters really struggle against him.
Well, actually, I think in the men's game, England should only pick from Div 1 anyway. Jonesy disagrees with me on that one, but I think that, you should be picking international players from the second tier.
The main reason why I've got Smith at number 2 is because I think Ben Foakes is one of the first people on the team sheet.
Surrey continue to pile up the runs, and Somerset are the early season pace setters ahead of the champions Nottinghamshire. Reviewing these matches and the Metro Bank Women's One Day Cup is the Kent Women's assistant coach, Geraint Jones. And today's guest, the host of the What's He On About podcast, cricket creator at large and general good egg, Charlie Harden. Welcome, chaps. How are we?
Thank you, Sanjay. God, these intros are getting seriously good. Have you been prepping them or something, Sanjay?
No, well,
He
I have got
preps them to stitch me up. That's unbelievable from you. Why'd you start laughing when you called me the assistant coach?
We've got Ashes winner, MBE, normally I just call you him. So I thought that was an upgrade, to be honest with you.
Recently redundant. You can add that to the list. Unemployed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Teacher for hire, that sort of stuff. Right, we've all been to a bit of cricket recently. Geraint, in your capacity as assistant coach, we'll come to the women's stuff. What I wanted to do was just do a quick roundup then, guys, on the county championship. Charlie, where were you yesterday? You popped in somewhere, didn't you?
I was at Essex yesterday. Yeah, I was at Essex yesterday filming my Going Round the County Ground series. So I dropped into quite a few over the weekend. So I've got a couple of good insights for you, Sanjay.
Good. And did you watch any cricket, or were you just trying fish and chips and beer and all that stuff?
Yeah, no, actually a perfect mix of everything, really. The fish and chips was seriously good. But no, I managed to catch a little bit of Ollie Robinson and a little bit of Henry Crocombe bowling at Sussex, and the Sam Cook batting at Essex. You know, you might not be too happy about that I didn't see him bowl, but, you know, I managed to get a little bit over the last couple of days. Now I've had a good few days, Sanjay. Where have you been?
I was at Glamorgan yesterday. International trip for commentary for Glamorgan women versus Gloucestershire in the tier 2 of that One Day Cup. Glamorgan looked very good and won that reasonably comfortably in a rain-affected match. But let's start with the men. Who's the one batter, guys, that you think this week that England simply can't ignore? Jonesy, go on. Who do you think? Oh, it's your show as well as mine.
I think I think you guys probably know a lot, not more than me, to be honest. But I think, is it McKinney up at Durham?
That's what I was trying to remember last week.
I know he's on their watch list. I've spent a few days away with Patch, who's in with the ECB, and he's inside information is McKinney is very much liked. So for him to produce and get the runs he did is great timing. And if he does it another couple of times, he's a great chance of pushing his name forward. But yeah, I still got to think Rue did well as well, to get those runs. So, but McKinney for one is someone who is really sticking his hand high up in the air.
Yeah, Charlie, who stuck out?
So I'd have said McKinney as well, and we can all look around at Jamie Smith, of course, as he piles on the runs, 250s and 100 in 4 innings. He's averaging pretty much 100 at the minute. But I just want a quick point on Ben McKinney, which is something doesn't quite feel right about getting rid of Zach Crawley and bringing in a 6 foot plus, with a similar bat brand and playing in the exact same fashion. Something doesn't quite feel right just to sort of swap Zach Crawley for Ben McKinney. You see what I mean?
Well,
but
I want
Ben
Dom
McKinney's
Sibley
done a
back
brilliant
in the
job
side,
this week.
So, it's the same sort of thing. That's the sort of opener maybe they like. Yeah, Ben McKinney, he got runs for the Lions against England in that Lilac Hill match. I think he got 60 odd both times. So, yeah, you've got a man on the inside, haven't you, Jonesy, with your mate Patch, he's also very good at quizzes. Charlie, I just have to tell you, which is how Jonesy gets most of his answers. So if Charlie Patch isn't here, he struggles.
Yeah, no, he's good. He's good for information, Patch. He does a lot of the packages for the ECB. So, when we catch up, he gives me a few little snippets. But yeah, it's having that 6 foot replacement. I don't care as long as they score runs at the top. They can, they can look like Sanjay, but if they bat like Bradman, that's all right.
I think Samit Patel's days are gone, mate, to be honest with you.
Oh, that's hard. Poor old Samit.
Who needs runs, Zach aside? Who needs time at the crease?
Duckett's the big one for me. I think he, no doubt, has the ability and has done enough to earn his space in the first test of this English summer. I think even if he doesn't get, major scores throughout the next few county games, he is going to play in that first test. But just on confidence-wise, he had to pull out of the IPL to make sure he was ready for the English summer. But I think there is quite a lot building on Ben Duckett at the minute to make sure he's going to be ready for that first test, confidence-wise, and just, get a few runs under his belt.
Yeah, he got 25
I think
and 1.
speaking of runs, if he doesn't score any runs, he needs to do a few laps of the boundary. I think that's part of his post-Ashes review. If he nicks off early, I think you might see Ben Duckett with his trainers on, heading out of the county ground and trying to get away. Because that's one thing they want. I think absolutely, Charlie. He's nailed on. His last few years he's been a dominant player, but just let things slip over the Ashes, and fitness was one of them. If you do that, then you're under scrutiny for your run scoring. So, now he's not going to the IPL. We all want him to score some runs, and he's clearly got some work to do off the field as well.
You liked that comment, didn't you? That he's not going to the IPL to focus on his professionalism. That went down well with you, didn't it? What about bowlers? Who's gone well? But I think the bowlers have got away with it from the Ashes. I think the pressure was on the batters because of the way they batted and the lack of runs for the vast majority. The bowlers bowled badly, in my opinion. I think there's going to be sort of reasonably wholesale changes in the bowling department. Whether that's true or not, who have you seen that you think is going to be knocking on Baz McCullum's door?
Yeah, so there's a big thing around that for me, which is the new ball bowler. Who is going to be the man to bowl the new ball come England summer? And it needs to be someone who is a seasoned new ball user. At County Championship, there's a lot of young players who are getting given the new ball. It's happened even in an England shirt as well. Young players are being given the new ball, and they're expected to be absolute geniuses with it already. And I know you love Sam Cook, Sanjay.
I do.
I've heard a few little things that you are a big fan of Sam Cook. And there's one man for me, and when we come to my England 11, I'm not sure if I want to sort of give it to you now or save it for the England 11, but there's been someone I've seen, I'll save it actually, who has been given it large, taken a couple of huge wickets. He's had a big 5-wicket haul in the first week, and there is someone, I think, he's a seasoned new ball bowler, not necessarily the most liked in the world of English cricket at the minute. But I think there's someone who's seriously knocking the door down for a new ball bowler.
James has got a bit of history with this mystery bowler. Who do you think, mate? Who do you think has been knocking on the door, bowling-wise?
Well, the guys that we want to see haven't started playing yet, have they?
Yeah.
Other than Potts early on.
Tongue played this round.
Did he? Yeah. That shows how much I've watched. But how did he get on? Because he
took...
he's won.
Yeah. He took 1 for 10 and 1 for 35 versus Morgan.
Yeah, I think Charlie's probably. We'll leave it for him. But if I have my first guess at who is it, I think he's probably leaning towards Ollie Robinson, and
you've ruined
and
it
Ollie
for
has
him.
Done.
And he was trying really hard.
No. I didn't say that.
And you've
didn't say. I said he's possibly leaning towards it. I didn't say he's picked him, but.
No, sorry, Charlie. Jonesy was a teacher until reasonably recently. Can you imagine? Poor children go into him with some sort of level of confidence, and he's the first chance he gets, he dobs them in. What were you going to say? It was something to do with cricket, wasn't it? Unlike me, just rambling.
Hey,
Jonesy,
mate,
what were you saying?
You just slashed me down. I know. Yes, and you're right, Charlie. Sanjay is a Sam Cook lover. But it was interesting. I watched Vaughan's lad, Archie Vaughan, win the match against Cookie, didn't he? And he it was only 40 odd, but Vaughan hit him. Archie hit him everywhere for those 40, and it just sort of struck me that he just missed that little bit of pace. And I no doubt that Sam Cookie is high quality. Someone can do that to him. That he just misses that little bit of something, which. England, they're looking for 90, as close to 90 and height as you can get.
Yeah,
but whether they're going to change that.
Yeah, the one thing I'd quickly say about Sam Cook, from what I've seen of him, is when he's into his stride, You know, batters really struggle against him and they can't get him away. But he's had a few moments recently where he's either been returning to a new spell, or that first couple overs with the new ball where he hasn't quite been able to find his line and length. You've seen the likes of Kyle Abbott, who's a sort of absolute seasoned professional who just hones in on that spot. Sam Cooke is almost there. But for me, agreeing with what you said, Jones, is about actually how can he sort of lock in those first couple of overs, because actually, you know, that defines a spell. If your first over goes for 15 or 20, which Kyle Abbott hit him for against Hampshire the other day, but that can really sort of, you know, change the whole idea of how this guy's bowled today. It completely transformed his figures, and then it's got to have an impact on his confidence as well.
I think England need that.
Massively.
If you look
And
at
then
our
that's
best, if you look at our best bowlers, though, mate, you've got, you know, Jimmy Anderson, not express pace, Broady, not, Chris Woakes, not. You know, I think in home conditions, you need someone like a Sam Cooke to put it thereabouts. Glenn McGrath, we've spoken about Glenn before. You know, you said that he obviously never scared you with his pace, but he did with his skill and accuracy. And I think Sam Cooke, for me, plays that role, which is why I'm pumping for him.
Yeah, I'd say Ollie Robinson plays that role for me. Sanjay.
You know, we're gonna have a team of trundlers, aren't we? This is what we're leading towards. A team of trundlers.
Well, I'll save this whole argument for my 11, Sanjay, but I've got it all sorted out for you.
Excellent. Let's go with that. There's a women's World Cup this year, 20 over World Cup, but the 50 over Metro Bank competition has started, which Lancashire won last year, beat Hampshire in the final. 3 tiers. Jonesy, I think you're best placed to explain the difference between the 3 tiers, aren't you?
I should be, mate, but you know, let's give it a go.
Go on.
So you got your tier 1, which is your fully professional. All they do is cricket. They play it. They have the 50 over stuff, and then they play the 20. And it's from that you get your 100 selected. So that's where everyone's looking to aspire to get into. And just listening to the Kent girls talk on the weekend. So we're into at the end of this summer, it'll be sort of the year 2 of it, and there's 200 tier 1 contracts will be up for grabs. So this summer is a big summer for a lot of women in the game, because in the division that the tier that I am, which is tier 2, there is no professional. So that a lot of the girls have jobs. So they will, you know, we have training, for example, on Wednesday night. They'll work all day, and then they'll come to train here in Canterbury, do the sort of 3 hours training, go back and then work, and then they'll have to give up their weekend to come and play. So that's the difference between, you know, their expenses are covered. It doesn't cost them anything to play, but you know, they don't get any money, so to speak. And then your tier 3 is your sort of your minor counties, Buckinghamshire, that sort of stuff. So that's very much, but those tier 3 teams, they get to join in for the county cup. So they get a bit like the FA Cup. They can come in and join, and with a chance to make their way forward. So so that's the way they integrate it all. But yeah, I'm involved with the tier 2 stuff, and all the women in Kent are looking to perform really well this summer in the hope that they can maybe get a full-time contract from September with a tier 1 county.
This is a Charlotte Edwards inspired change, I think, since she's been involved with the England setup. I commentated on Glamorgan women versus Gloucestershire women, which is also tier 2. Good game. Glamorgan won, and they're going to be tier 1 next year. So that's already confirmed. So they're up. And I guess it is a case of then for their players, same as Gloucestershire's players, is, you know, performances to get those contracts at tier 1 level. But Charlie, what do you think that will do to tier 2 next year? So if there is this jostling for position, and actually what you want is, it's a bit like the football analogy. If I use that, the Premier League and the Championship and League One, let's say, where the idea of a player is to get a tier 1 contract. But if you don't do that, you end up in tier 2. Does that devalue the second tier especially?
So I think what's going on here is we almost need the perfect hybrid. So in the men's game, Div 1 and Div 2 very similar. And then we've almost got the complete opposite on the women's side, where we've got 1, 2, 3, and there's such a sort of disparity between the 3 tiers that actually people in tier 2 are desperate to get into tier 1, not because of maybe better quality, but actually because that's how they can start to really make a living from the game of cricket and do what they love. Obviously, the better quality is important, but I think almost both the men and women's team need something somewhere in the middle, where there's that incentive to be in Div 1 because that's where, the best players are. That's where England pick from. And then actually on the Div 2 side, you've got a good league where people can make a living through what they love to do the cricket, but actually it's still a decent standard. But there's that want to be in Div 1, not to make a living, but to play at the highest standard. And I think we've lost a little bit of that in the men's game, and we've essentially got too much of it in the women's game. So I'd almost want to see a hybrid. I really love that county cup style. Everyone plays everyone. That's perfect. But I do think there's a little bit of more work to do so that actually tier 1 and tier 2 can be on a slightly more level playing field. I understand there's various implications in the women's game that means that maybe that's not possible yet. But what I do love about it is that tier 1 is the best players, and that's where we're going to pick the 100 players from, and that's where we're going to pick our international players from. So that creates a brilliant environment at the top, which are the best players of women's cricket. Do you see where I'm going there?
Yeah. Well, actually, I think in the men's game, England should only pick from Div 1 anyway. Jonesy disagrees with me on that one, but I think that, you should be picking international players from the second tier. But I think that, the danger that tier 2, you're right, I agree with you. I think that there's the gap could potentially get wider between tier 1 and tier 2, where tier 1 has got, all of the not only just from a playing side, but for the commercial side as well. The partners are in tier 1, the money's in tier 1, and tier 2 is essentially made up of the best of the rest, if you like. And those who are in a squad of a tier 1 side get loaned out to tier 2 teams, and they're playing at that level, but they're getting paid by tier 1. So I think it'll need a few years to settle down, but I think the big change, and it happened last year anyway. I think there is only one this year in Nottinghamshire. I think are called the Blaze, aren't they? Where it's a county set up now. There's much more alignment to the counties than it was last year. But if you saw, how did your game go, Jones? I know that Northants got some runs.
Yeah, it was a run fest. A young player called Meg Austin, who I think she's on the Yorkshire Academy now. She used to be on the Blaze. She got 120 odd and ended up sort of leading Northampton to get 300. And we had a massive positive. Last year, our batting was a real weak spot, but we worked our way near enough towards 280. And so for us as coaches, it was a real positive there. We've just got to have a look at the bowling side of things. And I think the big thing what happens in tier 2 is lone players can dominate, and that's what we saw last year, is that the teams that used the loan system the best and got these loan players generally had the success. And that's something that we've looked at, and we've actually sort of worked hard to be better at using that. But the hardest bit is the bowling side of stuff, because the tier 1 is so protective of their bowling stocks that we arguably we need some seam bowlers, but trying to get them is near on impossible, because the workloads that the tier 1 counties look at, and they're rare. Good sort of fast opening bowler is rare, and the tier 1 counties are very reluctant. But that's what we've seen as coaches, is that the counties that have manipulated and used that tier 1 loan, and you're only allowed a few of them, you can't just fill your side with them. But if you get these fringe players, like I know that down at Glamorgan, you would have seen Meg Sturge down there, and she was with us last year. She's moved to Glamorgan because that's her chance. She's with Hampshire currently, but whether or not she'll be there next year. So she's sort of gone, well, I'll play for Glamorgan all year in the hope that I'll get a professional contract with them, because there's whether or not I get one at Hampshire. And so you see that happening a lot. But but we were really happy with our weekend, to get 280 after last year, our first match we got bowled out for 60. That's a real positive. And so we go we go into next week against Derby. If we can just stop teams scoring over 300, we're a chance.
Somebody who, I think you mentioned her last time, because rather than doing her homework or listening in class, she used to watch cricket at the back of the schoolroom. Tilly Coleman. She took 3 for 48 for Surrey yesterday, Warwickshire. Was she at Kent before?
Yeah, so she came through all the Kent pathways, and then she was brought when it was Kent and Surrey. It was called the South East Stars. That's when she was on the academy, and then when it turned to Surrey, that's when she actually got her big breakthrough in the 100. She got a wicket with her first ball, and she took a hat trick. And so from there, she's really sort of jettisoned up, and now she opens the bowling for Surrey in the 50 over stuff. And that's what you see a lot in the women's game. I know I was talking about fast bowlers, but the spinners do a lot of the damage. And so Tilly has burst onto the scene, got £105,000 for her contract in the 100. And it's so fair play to her. It's we'd love to still have her playing for us, but she's she's doing great things for Surrey.
Geraint, if you don't mind, I've just got a quick question about that, which is there any feeling amongst other players when someone goes for that sum of money? Because obviously tier 2 is outside of that 100 zone, but you having sort of a little bit of a tap on the inside, I guess. Is there any sort of feeling of, maybe not jealousy? That's probably quite a hard question to answer. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, well, not within the level I'm at. I imagine within tier 1 there was a few raised eyebrows, but when you look at what Tilly's potential is, so it's that's what's changing massively in the women's game. You've got 200,000 plus contracts. You've got someone who's 18 getting 105,000. It's sort of, and that's what young girls are seeing and as a potential of a career. Hold on, the 100. If I do well, and as Tilly told her teacher, I don't need to worry about my business study, BTEC. I'm going to be rich playing cricket. And so that's what these players are eyeing up, and getting those sort of contracts. But the other thing is with the tier 1, when the 100's going on, the tier 1 cricket grinds to a halt. So what we've recognised within the game is it almost needs something for those players who are in tier 1 that aren't in the 100, who can almost like a second 11 sort of style thing, which may be some tier 2 players who are being looked at. So around that sort of August time, tier 1 women's cricket grinds down to a bit of a halt when the 100 takes over. And that's something the ECB need to look at, as for those fringe players, professional players, what do they do in that time? Because some of them are able to come and play for tier 2, but a lot of them were just left training with no cricket.
Good stuff. We're going to take a quick break now, and after we come back, we're going to be talking England men. Charlie, one thing that we've been doing, Jonesy and I say we've been doing, we did it once, which was last week, was pick our England starting 11 for that first test versus New Zealand on the 4th of June. And I'm going to ask you to do it as well. I know you've had a bit of preparation time, so you are Rob Key. You're Rob Key and Baz McCullum love child. But
Duckett number 1.
Charlie, what's your
and
England
number 2,
11
I've
for
got
that first test?
Jamie Smith. I'll talk about it all at the end. Number 3, Jacob Bethel. 4, Roots. 5, Brooke. 6, Stokes. 7, Ben Folkes. 8, Rian Ahmed. 9, Ollie Robinson. 10, Josh Tongue. 11, Jofra Archer. You can switch those two around at the bottom if you want. Jamie Smith. He's opened a lot in the one-day stuff. I'm not saying that makes him a glued-in opening batter in Red Bull cricket, but batter number 3 batted beautifully over the last couple of weeks for Surrey. And the main reason why I've got Smith at number 2 is because I think Ben Folkes is one of the first people on the team sheet for me. And he has to go in at number 7, and I want him with the gloves on. And Jamie Smith's last couple of weeks has only certified the fact he has to be in this team. And my big thought going into this was, if the England setup love Jamie Smith so much, whack him in at number 2. Bethel's earned his spot at number 3. It'd be unfair to put him anywhere else. And then you've got the 4, 5, 6 of those 4 in the middle order that you can't move. And Duckett, I think, has earned his spot as well. Obviously, Rue misses out.
So I don't see the point. There's no question about Folk. He's shown how good he is with that. And you see Smith up the top. So I totally get it, but I just don't see it really. Smith to me is fine with the gloves. I don't, he's shown an ability to do it. So I'm just wondering if you're missing an opportunity for a spot by including them both.
Well, it's interesting because I was looking back at this random England-West Indies test a few weeks ago, and England had in the side Butler, Bairstow, and Folkes with the gloves. And we went through a long period, didn't we, with having three or four in the side, genuine wicketkeeper batters. And I'd agree about that, Jonesy, but I think Smith has shown the last couple of weeks that he has got the ability to be in just a batter. And it'll be great to hear your thoughts on this, about whether you pick your best wickie. Ben Folkes, for me, feels the perfect inclusion.
Yeah, and he loves that sort of situation, which is that sort of digging in. And if they're in trouble, Ben Folkes is probably that guy, and that's where Jamie Smith was found out a bit over the winter, that ability to adapt to the situation and play, really get stuck in. But I like the way he's shown that batting at the top, and there's a bit, there's that. I was one where they chose me for my batting, and I imagine they probably sort of said, okay, you might miss a few, but what we're looking for is the runs. And whether or not they're putting, Smith in that same category, is like, what are they prepared to risk by having him in there? Because you'd probably want the mix of the two. That perfect world. Smith's batting is clearly outstanding, and Folkes' wicket-keeping is off the charts. So yeah, it's a tough one, and whether or not taking the pressure keeping off Smith has helped him at the top, and is something they consider, because in this day, could he do both across all those formats? That's a question which, well, we don't know, because he's not doing it at Surrey. So, and I think it's really difficult to throw that in at test level. But if he's showing he can open up, about high up in the order in Division 1 in the county championship, then he could be considered. Back to Stewie. If Stewie's got anything to do with it, Stewie did it, so he's probably saying that Smith could open up and take the gloves. But it's a real conundrum, and it's something that's that Rob Key and Baz McCullum will probably spend about 30 seconds considering.
All three of us have got Ben Duckett as our opening bat, and all three of us have got different partners for him. Charlie, as we've heard, has gone for Jamie Smith. You've gone for James Rue, and I'm the only one who's gone for an actual proper opening bat.
The problem is we've got so many ridiculously strong middle order batters. We've got probably about 8 batters who could fit in that middle order. So, as Jonesy said, it is the conundrum. Do you then put them all into your team, or do you face the fact you might get a few less runs from someone who's done it before and knows how to open the batting? And there are some people who they can only open the batting because of just how their mindset works. Like the Hasib Hamids, the Dom Sibleys. Of late, they've just absolutely locked themselves in as an opening batter. And it is always trickier, I think, to launch someone up the order to go and open the batting. But again, just for Jamie Smith, in my point of view, it's funny when we've got Smith and Folkes in the same 11, and then we're also trying to put Rue and Smith in the same 11. It's the exact same example where we've just got too many great middle order batters, and how do we fit them in the team? We've got to open with one of them and hope that it sticks, essentially.
If the two opening bats who have got runs so far are Acid Tribe, you got 80 odd today, and Ben McKinney was second, that got that big double 100. But if you just park those two for a second and go with what you've just been saying, and I'm going to ask you this, Jonesy. if it doesn't matter who the other opening batsman is, why can't it be Harry Brook? Why can't it be, which was suggested by David, one of our listeners on YouTube?
It's just a complete different mindset. If you, let's take Lords for example, walking out the dressing room, down the stairs, going through the long room, the whole crowd, the whole build-up anticipation to then go and have a new ball bowled at you. I think you need to have batted in that top order to have do it. So that's why I think someone who bats 3 can jump up, which in that top, but around that. But I still think someone so Stokes, who's batted his whole life at 6 and stuff like that, it's too big a jump. And then it's also what you're missing out on down there. It's not as easy as that. I love batting at 3, so I middle order batter, moved up to 3. But the reason I love that is because I was keeping, it was in the game, and it gave me thinking time. I didn't have to race off, throw my pads on and go straight out there. I could still have a bit of thinking time. As someone who'd spent all their life in the middle order, 3 was a happy medium. I could cope with that. It gave me a bit of time to do it. So it's it just doesn't sit right with me, someone from that middle order being put up to open.
But just before we come back to you, Charlie, on that though, mate, you opened for England in a one day or a T20. You batted at 3, but then for England you batted at 7. On that principle, how would you have felt if Duncan Fletcher and Varney had come up to you and said, Strauss's gone down, we want you to open with Trez?
You're expected to bat as an opener. You potentially expected to be able to be there at the end of not only the first session, but potentially the end of day 1. And for a lot of guys in the middle order, it's a different method. At some point, you're maybe looking to really push on and accelerate. So that someone who has opened their whole life has understood about that batting of time and what have you. And as I'm sitting here, I'm sounding like I'm talking absolute nonsense, but it just, I don't know, there's just something, there's just something that's itching away at me that I don't like, that it just doesn't sit well with me, that middle order batter being put up to open.
Well, that is what this podcast
but Smith is showing it. So Charlie, you've thrown me off by giving that option up there, because it's not a bad one.
Oh, thanks, Jonesy.
Let's go to the other contentious issue. The other one's a spinner. Obviously, poor old Shoaib Bashir. Well, they did well. Took 4 for yesterday or today for his new county, Derbyshire. You've gone for Rayan Ahmed. I went for Rayan Ahmed. Dawson, I think, was your pick, wasn't he? Rayan Ahmed, so far in terms of just wickets, has taken 6 so far against Dawson's 3. Why did you pick him?
Is, again, like our opening debate, there's no one screaming at me saying, I am the best spin bowler in the country. I have to bowl spin for England. No one's calling that. And then we've got that debate of, if no one is calling out to you on the spin front, let's pick someone who can bat well. And therefore, it brings you down to Dawson and Rayan Ahmed. And Dawson, I thought, bowled pretty well in that one test against India in the summer. That's when you need someone to hold up an end. Whereas maybe if we've got an Ollie Robinson who has, fair enough, his fitness does die down a bit over the course of a test match. But actually it means that I can maybe have someone who can attack a little bit more. Leg spinners are taking a lot of wickets at the minute. And maybe Rayan Ahmed could be the one to go down that route of, but then my backup's Liam Dawson. Just depends sort of, it's either a 2-year plan or a potential 6, 7, 8 year plan.
I understand it's a short sample survey, if you like.
Yeah.
But I think you did the day at the utility when Matt Critchley took 5 for, didn't you? There's a day after you did the day after me. I saw him as 100 and we did 5 for. I'm going to put the case though that if you're going to go with county form, and I understand, like I said, I'm counter that by it's only 2 games in, but Critchley got big runs. And he's got 6 wickets as well, same as Rayan Ahmed. Why wouldn't England pick him on the basis if you're going with county form?
But again, my reaction's still the same. I think he's got a lot more to do. And there's an element of picking from county cricket because they're in form just for the first couple of weeks. And then there's an element that someone, again, going back to my point, like a Dom Sibley last year, was bashing the door down last year. He hasn't quite got going this summer. But for me, as our middle order's so stacked out, maybe that spinner's got to start bashing the door down. But for Matt Critchley, again, I think he's probably too much of a batter spinner. And I'm not really too prepared to go into an English summer on what pitches are becoming quite a lot flatter here in England in the Test summer. And we need someone who is a little bit more adept in the spin department. Yes, he took 6 in the match for nothing, but Rian Ahmed or Liam Dawson feels better fit in that respect.
I can't remember where I was. I asked the question, why are there more leg spinners becoming prominent in the county game? Because for a while there, they drifted out. And someone just came back very quickly and said T20 cricket. And because of the wickets they take, and it's sort of in T20 cricket as a leg spinner, that little bit of variation is what's getting the wickets. Batters are going after them more. But as Charlie was saying there, the wickets that you play Test cricket on aren't going to perform like these county wickets have. Your leg spin bowler, my worry is that the guys we've got bowling leg spin can be taken out of the attack quite easily. They might get a wicket, but Test match batters will look at these guys and sum them up and very quickly work out how they're going to score freely off these guys. So that's more my issue is that the leg spin variation is such a difficult art to get right, and that's why Warne and Kumble were absolute wizards at it. But and so at that next level, it's really hard to contain being a leg spinner. That's just my personal view.
Yeah, I agree with that, and almost on top of that, I'd say the likes of Bashir and even Leach at times on the international stage are seeing a lot more of all spinners just getting taken down. As soon as they come onto the attack, especially, we've seen it with Australia many times over the years, that they want to get the spinner out of the attack. And I think it's happening a lot across the game in Test cricket, which is spinners are being attacked by the batters. So then you start to think, okay, am I going to pick my spinner who can bat a lot more? Or am I gonna pick someone who has genuinely got a brilliant record at tying down ends in county cricket? Rian Ahmed's a good pick.
100%. I've seen him score runs at county, seen him score runs at the next level, and he's a hugely talented batter. So that's probably what sticks him at the top of the pile compared to the others. Because if you're going to be a step and fetch bowler, you've got to be able to score a few to claw it back yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
If England work in Ashes cycles and the next Ashes is at home next summer, Ollie Robinson, does he have? There's probably no doubt he's got the skill, but Charlie, you're going to build the case for him having the pace and the temperament to play Test cricket for England this summer, and therefore be a tourist to South Africa and then play in the Ashes next year. Because this is what England, I think, are going to do now.
And my opinion on Ollie Robinson is not only that he seriously wants it, but it's the one point for me, which is I saw him take the wicket of Bo Webster at Hove. And it almost shook the ground, his sort of scream in Bo Webster's face. He did it a week before, got out Jake Weatherald, both were set at the time, takes the wicket and just screams in their face. And it was almost a moment of realization that, number one, he's trying to show a point to the England selectors that he is all in for this. And the second thing is, what I've been talking about previously is the need for a genuine new ball bowler, and we don't have a lot of them. Since the Anderson and Broad departure, we do not have a lot of genuine new ball bowlers, and that doesn't mean being able to bowl hooping away swingers to take out your off peg. It means that someone, again, Kyle Abbott's the perfect example. What did he take? 6 for 6 for 20 or something at 1.2 runs per over against Yorkshire today or something. And it's just having that consistency with the new ball. And you guys would have seen it in the Ashes. The number of new balls we just sort of wasted away with short wide balls. And don't get me wrong, come the 5th test in the 4th innings, Ollie Robinson probably will be bowling a few 65-mile-an-hour half trackers. But my point with Ollie Robinson is he, of all the bowlers in England, I think will be able to land the ball on a spot for longer. And as the test pitches are so flat at the minute here in England, that is going to become, if not more important, to be able to build that pressure with the new ball. I think Ollie Robinson's your man. There's my case, Sanjay.
Okay, well, there you go. We're going to have to wait and see. Actually, all of those were on our watch list. So that's pretty good. I've added Ben McKinney to it as well after his massive runs today. So we're going to keep an eye on these players, and week on week, we're going to just see who else is sticking their head above the parapet to get selected. It is time, chaps, for my favourite part of this show, for the reasons that Jonesy well knows, which is silly point. We've had various attempts of making this segment work, Charlie, to various degrees of non-success. We've had true or falses. Unfortunately, I relied on one of the AI engines to give me some clues during the Ashes, and it just basically let me down massively. So that didn't work.
Must be good.
We've tried 20 questions, and this is a variation of the theme. So this is the one we've stuck with, and by stuck with, this is the 3rd time we've done it. Right, so 3rd time.
And
it's gone reasonably well so far.
I've already got my defensive crossed arms posed.
Got last
I'm ready.
week's, which was Andy Caddick, and the week before, I can't remember what it was. Dave Gowan, which he didn't get. The Lord. Right. I've chosen somebody that you'll both know, which is a start. It isn't anyone from the 1890s. Right. This is question 1, and I think what we're going to do is you both have one guess, okay? I don't care who goes first. We get one guess per round, and Jonesy tries to stall, so I tend to move on quickly, Charlie, so you've got to be quick, unlike this intro, which isn't. Right, you ready? My father was a founding member of the nomadic South London side, the Old Castle.
That's up for debate.
Okay, any ideas on that one? Blanks all round, which is a good start. I want to see hands, by the way. Yeah. What? Charlie, no. Charlie and Jonesy, hands, please. Let me just see your hands. Both of you, put your hands up in the air. Good. Because he, on the left of my screen, has had a tendency to tell me, oh no, my son's calling me from the golf club, and he's on co-pilot trying to check the answer. So I'm just making sure that we don't have any of that. 2, I attended the St John Rigby College, a school that gained notoriety when its head teacher was jailed for a major financial fraud.
That's tough.
I like that one, given the fact that you're both ex-teachers, and well, yeah, we'll leave it at that, Jonesy. Yeah. Any idea who this could be? That's right. It's what mates are for. Right. Despite being a specialist batter, you need to concentrate. Specialist batter, I retired with 17 first-class wickets to my name, including a career best 2 for 85. Jonesy, in and around various change rooms, did you ever hear of a batter who bragged about their bowling? No? Nothing happening there. There's blank looks on both.
One guess. You said
you get one guess.
Takes about 17 rounds to Sanjay to give a relevant bit of information, by the way.
One round. One guess per round, Charlie. Yeah, you don't. I'm not going to leave it till the end. One guess per round. So if you've got anyone now, chuck it in. If not, I'll move on to the next. Can't make it too easy for you. I developed my early technique in my family's front room. by trying to hit balls through the gaps in the dining
That's the kind of
dining
fact
table
that
legs.
literally could be made up.
He's a genius.
How do you even find that?
Tell you what, it takes me a while to come up with something as good as this, and you can see why Joe doesn't get it. Why? Well, you've got to bring them. You've got to string them all together, Charlie. Not just look at it in isolation. In March 2010, so now giving you a clue when he played, I made history by becoming the first ever England player to debut in a test match versus Bangladesh in Chittagong. So that gives you a clue where this person bats as well at that particular point, in case you didn't get that bit. 2010, first ever player to debut.
No, he played for England. Hold on.
He played for Perth Scorchers in the Big Bash.
No.
Where he was a firm favourite with them. Jones is getting this. I can see from his face. There's a guess coming. This is going to get easier now. He was the only England player in that the 13-14 5-0 drubbing. He was the only player to play all of the matches. Who could it have been? All of these clues are brilliant.
I played against him, so Carberry.
Right,
Michael
you're going to
Carberry.
get off this one. Michael Carberry is the correct answer. Our fellow commentator and someone you played with at Kent. So there you go. Thank you very much. There you go.
Oh, no.
This is good. This is a vast improvement to some of the early versions. Which is a beautiful. Actually, that as far as segues go, this is going to be very good. Even though I've just laboured it.
At the minute, I am showcasing county cricket. That is my main goal at the minute, and I'm doing that through a series where I'm scouting out all the county grounds. And actually, I'm finding out, guys, there's a heck of a lot of love in young people for red ball cricket. And especially when counties give, various amounts of money off for their young players, actually they come streaming through the door. At Hove in Sussex, there's so many young kids playing cricket on the grass bank, and actually I was able to chat to them. And the love for cricket is strong, and it's sort of making me realise we're not necessarily upselling the county game as much as we could be, especially on the red ball side. And so this whole episode of me travelling around the county grounds at the minute is trying to showcase the feeling. What does it feel like to be at each ground? And that's sort of my mission on that side of things. In terms of the podcast, I started that out to be a commentator. Because I wanted to be a commentator, and I thought, I'm currently teaching. What can I do on the side? I started up a 30-minute podcast every week, so I could just speak about cricket, so I can go and show the various cricket commentators that this is what I can do. And then that evolved over time into shorter forms and working out what young people, how they consume their media, and just sort of diving into the world of how to engage a viewer in a minute, and then bringing that to the world of cricket is, some people might think is actually quite tricky to make cricket see that's quite, relatively lower tone throughout the whole day. Actually, how can we package that up into a minute and make it engaging? And, the engagement is brilliant. And there's a lot of love for the game of cricket. So if I can go through my next few years and just increasing the level of accessibility into the game for young people, I think that's a good way to go at the minute. And then the main goal is in my commentary, so I love to do. And hopefully soon I'll have the luxury of commentating alongside Sanjay Murthy.
You never know. There's a lot for me to learn from you, Charlie. It's actually nice to have somebody on this podcast who's got a plan. So that's pretty good for Jonesy and I to learn from. That's a good plan as well, mate. Yes, excellent. Mine's to stop coughing. Let's just finish off then with a quick fire.
I'm going to big up the Kent, because we've weather's saved us twice. Storm Dave up in Durham, and then a bit of rain here in the southeast. But Ben Compton is a player that once he starts to churn out some runs, and we're talking about gritty opening bats, and Compo's got 100 today, and he generally gets on a run where he scores back-to-back runs for a period of time. So sticking in my own backyard. Although that is a ridiculous comment because I've just realised that Kent are on a deload week and they got to buy this round. So that's brilliant from me. That's typical. Well done.
We'll look out for him.
He's going to score a shed load in the nets. That's so typical me, Sanjay. You're going to love that.
Yeah, exactly. Look out for him, just not on the cricket pitch. Yeah, if you're at Asda in Canterbury, Charlie, you might see him around there. So who knows? I might even be in the same boat, mate, because I've got the questions written down, but I actually didn't check to see whether Surrey are playing next week. And I think England's forgotten man is Ollie Pope. He got 100. Everyone at Surrey seems to be getting 100. Ollie Pope, could he be that England opening bat that we haven't spoken about? So he's my one. I'm going down to Glamorgan to do Glamorgan ladies versus Leicestershire. So Glamorgan, the batters there, the top order batters look very good. Megan Sturge, as you said. Beth and Gammon got runs.
And I genuinely think Ethan Bamber's one of the up-and-coming bowlers in English cricket at the minute. It's just, you know, when you see someone's good ball, it's like when Rob Key were talking about Shah Bashir. He's got an amazing best ball, and actually Ethan Bamber has got a few good balls up his sleeve, which just sought out some of the best batsmen in the county championship, just sort of nipping it around at a high pace. I think that's a really good one to look out for.
No, yeah, I think we've got to have a look at the spinners because it's someone from that spin department needs to and just boost that confidence up. So I'd like him to continue that on and back that up with. It doesn't need to be 5, 6, 7s because I don't think it's that time of the year, particularly for an off spinner. But I'd like him to just reproduce again and again, and really sort of put his name in the frame for that first test.
And I'm going for a spinner as well, young Poppy Walker, 17-year-old spinner at Glamorgan, bowled really well. Took 3 for yesterday. Bowled with some great overspin and some loop and got some bounce and kept Megan Sturge on her toes, certainly behind the stump. So I'm going with her. Chaps, brilliant. Thank you very much.